Chosen one, don't take this lightly. What you're hearing right now isn't just a thought or suggestion, it's a sacred instruction straight from the heart of heaven. God is speaking, not softly, but with urgency and authority. This isn't for motivation, this is for protection. He's guarding your future, your calling, and your strength. And it starts with one command: be silent. This silence is not punishment, and it is not fear, it is covering. There are things you must not say in 2026, not because you're afraid, but because wisdom is now your weapon. Some of the most powerful moves of God begin in silence. What He's planted in you is still growing, still fragile. Speak too soon, and you risk pulling up the roots before the fruit even shows. Not everything God reveals to you is meant to be repeated through you, at least not yet. See, the enemy doesn't need to overpower you, he just needs information. That's why God is putting a divine lock on your lips. Not every listener is a friend. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every smile is safe. Proverbs 13:3 says, "Those who guard their lips preserve their lives." That's not poetry, that's strategy. You've been feeling the weight of certain conversations, how sharing too much leaves you drained, how being too open invites resistance you didn't see coming. That's not coincidence, it's confirmation. This next season isn't loud, it's focused, quiet obedience, hidden progress, private victories. Because when God finishes what He's building in you, the results will speak louder than anything you could have said. This is not the year of explaining, this is the year of becoming. So now, I need you to sit with this word. Let it settle deep in your spirit. Don't scroll, don't brush it off. God is trying to preserve what He's prepared. And when the time is right, He'll reveal it not with noise, but with glory. Now, as you step forward into this divine season of protection and purpose, I invite you to declare your readiness. Type Amen in the comments below if you receive this word. Let it be your yes to God's covering, your agreement to walk in wisdom, not impulse. And stay with me until the end, because we're about to pray together. Not just any prayer, but a covering for what's growing, a shield for what's coming, and a release of strength to stay silent until God says, "Speak." This is your moment. Don't miss it. Chosen one, this moment, you're living in this silence. This space of restraint is not an accident. It is not a delay. It is a design. You may feel like life has pressed pause, like your voice has been taken or your purpose hidden behind a veil. But don't misread the stillness. This isn't the absence of movement, it's the presence of God. He is speaking through what He's not letting you say. There are seasons where the greatest spiritual discipline is not in doing more, but in speaking less. And not because you have nothing to offer, but because what you carry is too weighty to be handled carelessly. There's a difference between being silenced by fear and being quieted by God. What you're walking through now, it's the latter. He's not pushing you away, He's pulling you closer. What feels like restraint is actually reverence. God is drawing a sacred boundary around what is still growing inside of you. Not everything is meant for public consumption. Some revelations are meant to be protected, not promoted. This is something Job learned, not in his pain, but in his restoration. After losing everything, after being questioned by friends and misunderstood in his grief, Job stood before God not to argue, but to listen. And it was only when he said, "Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know," Job 42:3, that restoration began. There are moments when silence is not weakness, but worship. When holding your peace is a way of saying, "God, I trust you more than I trust being understood." In today's world, we're taught to measure impact by visibility, but God measures it by obedience. He's not forming you for applause, He's forming you for endurance. That's why some doors didn't open when you wanted. That's why some people pulled away without explanation. That's why your voice feels small in rooms where you once felt seen. Because what He's doing in you isn't for show, it's for legacy. Sacred things aren't rushed, they're refined, and God will often hide what He's healing so that no one can touch it while it's still tender. Think of Hannah, praying in the temple. Her prayer was so intense and quiet that Eli thought she was drunk. But she wasn't lost, she was locked in. Her miracle didn't begin with shouting. It began with silent groaning, and when God gave her Samuel, she didn't announce it to prove anything to anyone. She dedicated him back to the Lord. That's what people miss about holy silence. It doesn't lead to pride, it leads to surrender. And maybe, if you're honest, you've been wrestling with that urge to explain. You want people to know that your isolation isn't failure, that your distance isn't disobedience, that your quietness isn't confusion. But every time you move to clarify, the Spirit checks you. Every time you reach for validation, heaven whispers, "Not yet." Because sometimes the need to be understood is the very thing that can sabotage the work God is doing in the dark. There's wisdom in waiting. Ecclesiastes 3-7 says there's a time to keep silence and a time to speak. What God is doing now is time-sensitive and Spirit-protected. And yes, it can feel like loss to watch others speak freely while you're kept quiet, to feel like you're falling behind while everyone else is building in public. But remember, not all growth is loud. The most important part of a tree's life is when its roots grow deeper, not when its branches reach higher. I once heard the story of a woman who had a powerful dream from God, one that revealed a future ministry and calling far greater than she could imagine. But when she tried to share it immediately, it was met with resistance, disbelief, and even jealousy. Doors shut, opportunities dried up. Her heart grew discouraged. It wasn't until she stepped back, turned inward, and allowed God to prepare her in secret, years of silence, private training, and deep surrender, that the vision began to bloom. And when it finally did, it came with peace, authority, and a weight her younger self couldn't have carried. That's what holy restraint does. It prepares you for what you prayed for. This silence won't last forever, but it's doing something eternal. It's aligning your heart with heaven's pace. It's maturing the vision. It's closing the mouths of critics before they ever get a chance to misunderstand your assignment. And it's making sure that when God releases your voice again, it won't just be heard, it will be felt. It will carry healing. It will carry wisdom. It will carry the power of someone who didn't just speak from passion, but from permission. So if you find yourself in that quiet place today, misunderstood, hidden, held back, take heart. You're not being punished, you're being preserved. Let this be the season where your silence becomes your sanctuary, where your restraint becomes your strength, where you learn that sometimes the loudest act of faith is saying nothing at all. Chosen one, if you've been feeling enclosed, slowed down, or strangely disconnected from what once seemed clear and fast-moving, it's not random, it's holy. This is a divine pause, not a personal failure. And the weight of it, the slowness of it, the silence, it's not there to punish you, it's there to prepare you. Because before God trusts you with influence, He teaches you how to live with intention. He doesn't give greater responsibility to impress you, He gives it to refine you. And refinement never begins on the outside, it begins with what's hidden. You see, when God is developing someone for something significant, He doesn't start with visibility, He starts with restraint. Before He increases what's in your hands, He fortifies what's in your heart. He tests not how loudly you speak, but how well you steward the quiet. In this season, God isn't just teaching you patience, He's shaping your personal government. He's asking, Can you carry something powerful without needing to show it off? Can you hold revelation without rushing to explain it? Can you remain grounded when no one claps, no one affirms, and nothing is certain? Proverbs 4:23 tells us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." That's not a casual warning, it's an instruction for leadership. Because real leadership begins long before platforms, titles, or assignments. It begins in the place where no one else sees, where you learn to govern your emotions when they threaten to speak too quickly, where you recognize when your thoughts are spiraling and bring them back under the control of truth, where you can sit with confusion without panicking and let peace, not pressure, guide your next step. God doesn't give spiritual authority to those who are still ruled by emotion, impulse, or applause. And that's why this season may feel constricted. It's not because God is holding out on you, it's because He's pouring into you a depth that only silence can form. This is the kind of depth that can't be taught in public. It's the kind of character that's built in the dark. When Jesus was led into the wilderness by the Spirit, it was not for display, it was for development. He fasted, he fought off temptation, and he returned in power. But the power didn't begin when he left the desert. It began when he chose obedience over comfort. And some of you are in that same space, the wilderness, the unknown, the quiet middle. You've outgrown old patterns, but haven't fully stepped into the new. You're craving direction, but getting delay. And that can feel like being forgotten. But you haven't been forgotten, you've been reserved. Just as oil must be pressed before it flows, what God is placing on your life requires crushing. Not to destroy you, but to bring out what's pure. And the pressing often comes through restraint. In this hidden season, God is separating your desire from your assignment. He's teaching you that not every good opportunity is the right one, that not every dream needs to happen right now. That discipline is not a barrier to destiny, it's the bridge to it. Ecclesiastes 7-8 reminds us, "The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride." The pride that pushes to be seen, to be validated, to prove worth. God is gently removing that from your system. He's replacing it with patience. And patience doesn't just wait, it trusts. And let's be honest, trusting God with no timeline, no explanation, no guaranteed outcome, that's not easy. It goes against everything we've been taught to believe about progress. We're told that growth must be visible, that success must be public. But God's kingdom doesn't operate like the world's systems. In the kingdom, hiddenness is not insignificance, it's sacred ground. David knew this. Long before he became king, he was alone in the fields with sheep, writing songs to a God no one saw him worship. And yet, it was in that solitude that he learned courage, gentleness, worship, and warfare. When the moment came to face Goliath, David wasn't powerful because he had a crowd behind him. He was powerful because he had been formed in silence. That's what's happening in you. Strength is being installed. Wisdom is becoming your default. You're learning how to choose prayer over panic, discernment over desperation, peace over urgency. And yes, it might feel frustrating not to have the answers, to not know exactly what's next. But sometimes God withholds information not to confuse you, but to train your dependence. If you always had the full picture, you wouldn't need faith. And faith is the only currency that carries weight in the Spirit. 2 Corinthians 5-7 says, "For we live by faith, not by sight." God is not building people who need constant clarity to keep going. He's raising up those who move by conviction, who obey without confirmation, who stay the course when no one's clapping. And maybe what's been most surprising in this season is how much it has exposed, not just the noise outside you, but the chaos within. You've realized how often you've relied on feedback to feel confident, how quickly you've moved to fix tension just to feel secure again. And yet, here you are sitting with unresolved things and still staying faithful. That is not weakness. That is spiritual muscle being built under pressure, and God sees it. This pressure isn't meant to break you, it's meant to forge you into someone who can carry what's coming next without being crushed by it. God doesn't rush those He plans to trust deeply. The longer the preparation, the weightier the assignment. Because God isn't just preparing a moment, He's preparing a vessel, one that can carry authority without ego, influence without compromise, leadership without losing intimacy with Him. And when this season is over, you will not come out the same. You will not need to explain your journey. You will not feel the urge to defend your choices. You will walk with a quiet confidence that only those who've been kept in the secret place can carry. Psalm 18:19 says, "He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because He delighted in me." But notice, He brought David out after David had learned to be still. This season is not punishment. It is protection. It is pruning. It is preparation. God is not withholding something from you. He's building something in you. And when it's ready, it won't need to be forced. It will flow. It will bear fruit. It will last. Because what's born out of restraint is always stronger than what's born out of rush. Let this silence finish its work in you. Let this hiddenness do what only hiddenness can do. Because on the other side of this, there is a version of you that no longer needs visibility to feel valuable, no longer needs noise to feel noticed, and no longer needs to be heard to know you are held. You are not being limited, you are being led. And the one leading you is faithful. Let me share something sacred with you, something that will protect not just your future, but your peace, your purpose, and the weight of what God is building in you. If you can hold this truth close, it will become a shield for your soul. Not every revelation is ready for release. Not everything God shows you is meant to be spoken. Not yet. There is a rhythm to how heaven unfolds its secrets. Revelation arrives in layers, like seeds in soil. And wisdom, true wisdom, is learning which layers are meant to stay buried until they are strong enough to break the surface. Because revelation without timing becomes exposure. And exposure without covering invites warfare. You're not built to carry, at least not yet. It's one of the most subtle and overlooked truths in Scripture. Joseph didn't fall because his dream was false. He stumbled because his dream was shared too soon. The vision came from God, but the audience was chosen by Joseph. He told brothers who weren't ready to hear it, not because they were evil, but because they were immature, insecure, unaligned. And what began as a beautiful unveiling became the catalyst for betrayal. Long before he was thrown into a pit, Joseph was thrown into misunderstanding. The descent began not with violence, but with a conversation. Genesis doesn't say that the dream was wrong. It says that Joseph was hated for it. That hatred didn't come from the dream's content, it came from its timing. Revelation without discernment attracts resistance. Not every battle you're facing right now is a test from the enemy. Some storms begin with speaking too early. Some warfare is not demonic. It's the natural consequence of pouring holy things into hands that weren't prepared to hold them. There are people you've trusted who only saw your vision through the lens of their limitations. People who interpreted your growth as arrogance. People who preferred you dependent, small, manageable, because you're becoming threatened their sense of identity. And when you handed them what God was still forming in you, they trampled it not because they were wicked, but because they were not ready. As Jesus said in Matthew 7-6, "Do not give dogs what is sacred, do not throw your pearls to pigs." This wasn't a statement of worth, it was a warning about stewardship. Pearls must be protected, not because others are beneath them, But because not everyone recognizes their value, some hearts are not evil, they're simply unprepared. And when people don't understand the cost of what you carry, they will mishandle it, mock it, or minimize it, not out of malice, but out of blindness. Not every heart can host what heaven has placed inside of you. That's why silence isn't always a sign of humility. Sometimes it's a sign of wisdom. God may be telling you to be quiet, not to punish you, not to isolate you, but to preserve the integrity of what He is building. Revelation has a schedule, destiny has a timeline, and silence in the right season is a protective strategy. When you misunderstand the silence, frustration sets in. You begin to question your progress. You wonder if you've missed something. But the truth is, God often does His deepest work in hidden places. When He builds something valuable, He builds it underground first. The absence of attention does not mean the absence of activity. In fact, the lack of applause may be the clearest sign that you're in construction. Look at Jesus. 30 years of quiet formation, 30 years of preparation, no miracles, no public validation, no platform, just growth, discipline, and alignment. And when the time came to step into public ministry, the foundation was so deep, the pressure didn't break Him. The criticism didn't derail Him. The cross didn't catch Him off guard. Luke 2:52 tells us, "And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and man." He increased, but in private. Real increase doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when no one is watching. Foundations are poured in secret. Deep roots form without sound. Concrete is mixed before the celebration. And the deeper the foundation, the taller the structure can safely rise. That's why God doesn't rush exposure. He removes visibility not to diminish you, but to ensure that when the time comes, what He built in you will not collapse under the weight of attention. We see this again in the life of Paul. After his dramatic encounter with Jesus on the road to Damascus, Paul didn't immediately begin preaching. Galatians 1:17-18 tells us that he went away to Arabia for years, time away, time hidden, time forgotten by many, but not by God. That quiet season wasn't wasted, it was essential. It was where depth replaced zeal, where revelation became foundation. You may be in that same kind of season, one where God has shown you glimpses of what's coming, but told you to speak none of it. One where your clarity increases, but your audience decreases. That is not delay. That is design. Because when God finally brings you forward, He wants what you carry to be mature, steady, and deeply rooted. So hear this. You are not behind. You are not being overlooked. You are being established. God is teaching you the pace of purpose. He is helping you discern when to speak and when to stay silent. He is training your spirit not to be reactive, but responsive to His leading. And above all, He is reminding you that hiddenness is not a sign of being unworthy. It is a sign that something holy is under construction. Let this silence do its work. Let this season deepen you, because when the time comes to rise, you won't just be seen, you'll be ready. Chosen one, there is something sacred and unseen unfolding in this season, a quiet work that's easy to misinterpret if you only look at the surface. While it may seem like God is simply keeping you hidden, He's actually doing something far more transformative. He's not just protecting your future, He's rewriting your identity. And identity work never happens in the noise. It happens in the silence. Before God changes what you do, He always changes how you see. Before He shifts your assignment, He secures your sense of self. And this kind of work can't survive constant explaining, defending, or performing. It requires stillness. It demands a kind of solitude that feels uncomfortable at first, but ultimately becomes the soil for something real and rooted to grow. In loud seasons, it's easy to borrow identity from what others reflect back to you. You begin to see yourself through applause, through criticism, through performance or comparison. You define yourself by what you achieve or what people expect. But in silence, God removes all those mirrors. He pulls you away from the need to be seen, heard, or applauded, so he can ask you the deeper question: who are you when there's no audience, when no one is clapping, criticizing, or noticing at all? And that's when the real work begins. When God quiets your world, he starts to expose the labels you didn't even realize you had internalized. Maybe you've always been the strong one, the dependable one, the helper, the one who held it all together. Maybe you were the misunderstood one, or the gifted one, or the overlooked one. But even good labels can limit you. Even affirming identities can become outdated when God is preparing you for something new. Silence becomes the holy space where God removes those outer garments and whispers your true name, the one that doesn't need a title or a role to be valid. Just as he did with Abram, turning him into Abraham in a place of quiet covenant, not a crowd. Just as he did with Jacob, wrestling him in the night and calling him Israel, not in front of his family, but alone. God often redefines people away from the eyes of others, because familiarity can keep you tied to old forms of yourself. Familiar people sometimes prefer the version of you they've already accepted, even if God is calling you to become someone entirely new. That's why this silence feels stretching. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're being unmade and remade at the same time. You're learning to stand without a name tag, to carry weight without needing to explain why. You are no longer introducing yourself by your trauma, your talent, your position, or your past. You're learning to simply be defined, not by what you do, but by who God has called you to be. And in this identity work, God is also pruning your circle. He's limiting access to your inner world, not out of cruelty, but out of care. Because the formation of identity is fragile, and too many opinions can distort clarity. When Jesus went to heal Jairus' daughter in Mark 5, he put the mourners out of the room. He didn't perform resurrection in front of everyone. He brought only a few who were prepared to witness the miracle. Why? Because some rooms are too crowded for clarity. Some voices carry too much doubt to allow faith to breathe. You may notice lately that even your conversations feel different. Shallow topics drain you. Small talk exhausts you. Explaining yourself feels heavy. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming consecrated. There's a refinement happening. You're shifting from craving affirmation to walking in conviction. And conviction doesn't shout. Conviction doesn't seek agreement. Conviction simply stands. God is also unhooking your worth from visible fruit. In the past, you may have measured growth by outcomes, open doors, compliments, results. But now, you're learning to measure by peace. Can you be faithful without applause? Can you stay grounded without being noticed? Can you remain obedient without immediate confirmation? These aren't side lessons. These are the building blocks of unshakable identity. Because here's what God knows: visibility before identity is dangerous. It creates pressure to perform instead of permission to become. And God loves you too much to let your gift carry you where your character isn't ready to go. He is anchoring you now so you won't be swept away later. Isaiah 49:2 says, "He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." That's what this season is. Not delay, not rejection. Concealment for sharpening, for polishing, for perfecting what's hidden before it's launched. Prayer feels different in this space. It's less about performance and more about presence. Less asking, more listening. Less doing, more becoming. You're learning that God isn't just training your voice, He's training your hearing. Because the ones He trusts to speak on His behalf are the ones who first learned to sit in silence. And here is the quiet truth most people overlook. When identity is secured in silence, it becomes untouchable in public. Misunderstanding may come, accusations may come, praise may come, but none of it will sway you because you no longer rise and fall on what others see. You stand in who God has said you are, and that voice, once settled in the soul, is louder than any crowd. This is why God treasures the silence of this season. He's not hiding you from purpose, He's anchoring you in it. He's forming a version of you that doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't need permission to exist, and doesn't need constant reminders of worth. A version of you that can walk into any room, do the will of the Father, and leave without second-guessing whether you were enough. What God is forming in you is not shallow, it's not fragile, it's not performance-based, it's real, it's deep, and it's born in the kind of silence that only those willing to be unseen for a while can carry. Let the silence continue its work, because when it's done, you won't just know who you are, you'll know whose you are, and nothing will be able to move you from that place. Chosen one, what you're walking through right now isn't just a quiet season, it's a construction site for your soul. God is going deep, not just to prepare you for a new assignment, but to reinforce the foundation beneath your identity, your endurance, and your calling. He's not only building what the world will eventually see, he's strengthening what must never be seen to crack. That's why the days feel heavy. That's why conversations that once felt light now feel weighty. You are carrying something holy that others cannot see. And that kind of invisible weight creates visible distance. People won't always understand what they've never had to carry. This is the quiet work of God, sacred, private, protected. And because of it, you may feel the urge to pull away from the noise, from casual conversation, from the pressure to explain yourself. That's not isolation, that's wisdom, that's spiritual self-awareness. Your spirit knows that distraction would interfere with what God is installing. He is insulating your focus, tightening your circle, silencing extra voices, not to punish you, but to protect the process. He's installing discernment so you can stop overthinking. He's anchoring stability so you don't live at the mercy of emotion. He's stretching endurance so that pressure won't shake you. And when this hidden work is complete, you won't just carry more, you'll become more. Not louder, not flashier, but deeper, clearer, and unshakably rooted. It's painful though, isn't it? The separations, the quiet exits of people who once felt permanent. But here's a truth that will bring peace if you let it. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into every season, even those who were once essential, even those who love you. Some relationships were assigned to a moment, not your mandate. Some people were not sent to carry the weight, they were only there to witness the beginning. And that's not a loss, that's alignment. When the purpose deepens, the circle shifts. And when the call rises higher, the room grows smaller. Even Jesus didn't bring everyone up the mountain. He didn't invite the entire crowd to the garden. He carried the cross mostly alone. Not because others were evil, but because intimacy with God sometimes requires space from people. Some people are watching, clapping, even quoting your words, but they're not carrying your burden. Others seem supportive, but leave you more scattered than still. And some, though loud in public, are quiet in prayer. Let God show you the difference. Let silence uncover what words often conceal, because silence has vision. When the words stop, your eyes open. You start to see patterns you missed before. You begin to notice who pressures you for access God didn't permit, who subtly competes with your peace, who drains you with shallow questions or misaligned motives. And you'll notice who quietly guards your name in prayer, those who love you with no agenda. It's not about bitterness, it's about clarity. Proverbs 13:3 says, "Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life." This is not just poetry, it's protection. Some of the hardest battles weren't started by demons. They were started by conversations. Words spoken too soon, too freely, or in front of the wrong people can derail what obedience took months to build. That's why silence isn't passivity, it's strategy. Jesus modeled this with breathtaking power. When accused, he said nothing. When questioned, he remained still. Because authority doesn't need to yell. It doesn't scramble to explain. Real authority can stand in silence while heaven speaks in its place. Psalm 37:7 says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." Waiting isn't weakness, it's weaponized trust. It is the belief that God is still working even when we say nothing. That momentum does not require noise. That roots grow deeper in the dark. That gold is refined out of sight. You see, some of the most significant things God does begin in places no one can see. A seed breaking open, a heart being healed, a calling being reshaped. The silence around you is not emptiness, it's evidence. Something holy is under construction. And that is why God keeps saying, don't announce it yet, because what he's forming in you is too precious to survive premature exposure. When the time is right, what's hidden will be revealed. But right now, your job is not to explain, it's to become. This is not the year of proving, not the year of defending, not the year of making sure everyone understands your heart. This is the year of quiet transformation, of digging deep, of letting your roots take hold so that when the fruit comes, it won't be fragile. Ecclesiastes 3 reminds us, there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Your silence is not permanent, but it is purposeful. So don't be afraid if it feels like you've disappeared. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are hidden on purpose. And when God unveils what he has built, it won't be gradual. It will be sudden, swift, undeniable. Until then, walk quietly, build deeply, pray in secret, move with wisdom, because what God is planting in you now is too sacred to announce too soon. Silence isn't the absence of movement. It's movement that doesn't need applause. It's obedience without audience. It's clarity being formed where no one else can reach. You're not fading, you're forming, and heaven is not done with you yet. Chosen one, let's make this real. Sometimes the most powerful spiritual truths aren't the ones that sound the loudest. They're the ones that reshape your daily choices in quiet, consistent ways. What God is doing in you right now is sacred, yes, but it's also practical. Because divine wisdom was never meant to stay abstract. It's meant to be lived, embodied, breathed into your mornings, carried into your conversations, applied in silence, tested in the ordinary, and proven in the hidden places where no one else is watching. Holy silence is not about disappearing. It's not passive withdrawal. It's not self-protection dressed up as spirituality. Holy silence is active obedience. It's not about saying nothing, it's about learning when not to say everything. And if you miss that distinction, you'll either isolate yourself unnecessarily or you'll keep leaking truth into places that were never meant to carry it. This silence is not about being voiceless, it's about being wise. So what does it look like right here in real life? What does this kind of sacred restraint look like in your Monday mornings and late night texts and daily routines? It looks like selective speech, not silence out of fear. God isn't asking you to shut everyone out. He's asking you to filter before you speak. Before you share your plans, your dreams, your heartaches, your breakthroughs, pause. Ask yourself, did God lead me to share this? Is this the person who can carry it with care? Is this the right time, or am I rushing a process that God still wants private? If the answer to any of these is unclear, wisdom says, let it remain between you and God. There's no harm in waiting. There is, however, danger in oversharing. It looks like quiet consistency. Silence does not mean you're stuck. It means you're focused. You keep praying, planning, building, learning, healing, but you stop broadcasting. Let your life become your answer. Let your discipline speak louder than your declarations. You don't owe the world an update. You owe God your obedience. It looks like managing the leak points in your spirit. Oversharing often comes from emotional urgency, from the desire to be understood, defended, or affirmed. But in this season, God is healing that hunger. When the need to explain rises up, take it to God, not to people. Write it down, pray it out. Cry if you need to, but don't hand over what's still growing to hands that haven't been called to steward it. Not everyone who listens is assigned to you. Not everyone who's kind is safe. It looks like learning to observe before you respond. When you stop explaining yourself, you start seeing others clearly. Watch how people handle your silence. Who rushes to fill the gap with assumptions? Who pressures you to speak before you're ready? Who remains patient, present, and prayerful even when you're quiet? Pay attention not to judge, but to discern. Sometimes clarity is born, not through confrontation, but through stillness. It looks like fiercely protecting your spiritual rhythm. The loudest noise isn't always around you. It's often in your own mind, fueled by overstimulation, endless scrolling, constant opinion, and the fear of missing out. Create sacred space. Carve out quiet. Mornings where your phone stays off. Walks without headphones. Moments after prayer where you don't rush out of God's presence. This is where clarity forms. This is where direction settles. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness reveals what noise hides. It looks like trusting God to defend you. Misunderstanding will come. Some will misread your silence as arrogance, detachment, or passivity. But the truth doesn't need panic to protect it. Your job isn't to control the narrative, it's to stay aligned with heaven. Isaiah 30:15 reminds us, "In quietness and trust shall be your strength," not in reaction, not in reputation management, but in surrender. It looks like measuring progress by the unseen, not the applauded. You may not have external proof of what's growing yet, but ask yourself this: am I more rooted today than I was last month? Am I more prayerful, more disciplined, less reactive, more anchored in God's voice than in people's approval? This is what maturity feels like. Quiet, slow, but undeniably strong. And through all of it, remember this: silence is a season, not a sentence. God isn't closing your mouth forever. He's refining your message. He's removing the noise so that when your voice returns, it won't be filled with striving. It will be filled with substance. You won't need to announce what God has done. The fruit will speak. The timing will testify. The transformation will be undeniable. This is not the season for explaining. This is the season for becoming. And every day you choose restraint, you are protecting a future that is still forming beneath the surface. Ecclesiastes 3 reminds us, there is a time to speak, but there is also a time to keep silent. And that silence is not empty, it is sacred. So live it out gently. Wake up and pray with no post. Love deeply with no announcement. Build wisely with no spotlight. Let the silence form your strength. Let it quiet your fears. Let it prepare your voice for the day it truly matters. Because when God says, "Now speak," the world will not hear noise, it will hear authority. And so, chosen one, as you stand quietly in the middle of what feels unfinished and unseen, remember this: what God is doing in your life is not random, rushed, or wasted. It is sacred, slow, and deeply intentional. This silence you're walking through isn't a void, it's a sanctuary. It's not a punishment, it's preparation for a weight your future will require you to carry with strength, wisdom, and grace. Every unanswered question, every unseen act of obedience, every moment of holding your tongue when you could have spoken, He sees it all. He is shaping you not just for visibility, but for durability. He is not forming a moment, He is forming a message. And when the time comes for your voice to rise, it will not come from striving. It will rise from stillness, from roots grown deep in the soil of surrender. So, hold steady, keep becoming. Let the silence do its full work, because soon what God has built in you quietly, slowly, faithfully, will stand with a strength no storm can shake. And when it speaks, it will not just be heard, it will be felt. Before we end this message, I want to pray with you. Not a surface prayer, a deep one that reaches into the silence and aligns your spirit with the hand of God. If you're in a quiet season right now, if you've been feeling hidden, misunderstood, or stretched beyond what you can explain, this prayer is for you. Father in heaven, I come before you today with reverence and stillness, bringing every heart that hears this prayer into the shelter of your presence. Lord, you see what others don't. You see the unseen labor, the quiet obedience, the tears that fall in silence, and the choices made in the dark when no one is watching. Today, I lift up every chosen one who is walking through the sacred silence, the kind that forms identity, sharpens purpose, and deepens trust. Lord, thank you for the holy restraint you've placed on our mouths in this season. Thank you for teaching us that not every revelation needs a stage, and not every dream is ready to be spoken. You, God, are the keeper of time. You do nothing too early and nothing too late. We surrender to your timing. We surrender to your silence. We surrender to the slow, deep, refining work you are doing beneath the surface. Father, forgive us for every moment we've tried to rush what you're building. Forgive us for confusing visibility with value. We confess that we've sought understanding from people before seeking your confirmation. We've wanted to explain when you've asked us to trust, but today we lay that down. We let go of the urge to defend, to announce, to prove. We choose instead to become quietly, faithfully, deeply in your presence. God, strengthen the weary. For those who feel like the silence is too long, breathe fresh endurance into their souls. Help them see that the quiet place is not a desert, it's a garden. That you are planting things that will bloom in time. That even though no one sees the roots growing, you do. And what you see, you bless. Lord, we invite you to finish the work you've started. Build the foundation strong. Tear out what cannot carry the weight of the next season. Pour in wisdom where there was once reaction. Pour in peace where there was once pressure. Replace striving with stillness. Replace insecurity with your voice of truth. Let this silence be our teacher. Let it train our mouths to speak only what is appointed. Let it train our hearts to discern what is holy. Let it train our spirits to move with you and not ahead of you. God, make us trustworthy with the weight of revelation. Let us carry it with care, with purity, and with humility. For every person who has felt misunderstood in this season, remind them that you understand. For those who have lost relationships because of their obedience, comfort them with divine companionship. For those who have pulled back from noise and now feel alone, wrap them in the nearness of your spirit. Let them know they are not isolated, they are being insulated. You are preserving them, hiding them, and anchoring them so that when they rise, they will not fall. God, we declare that this silence is not empty. It is holy. It is filled with divine momentum. It is filled with healing, rewiring, and revelation. Thank you that the fruit of this silence will be peace, clarity, and authority not born of performance, but born of permission. And when you say speak, we will speak. When you say move, we will move. When you say wait, we will wait, not with frustration, but with faith. We pray for divine discernment, for eyes to see who is assigned to our next chapter, for the wisdom to walk away from what distracts, for the strength to say no to what seems good but isn't from you. Teach us, God, to trust the closed doors, the quiet days, the hidden assignments, and let our lives be built on the rhythm of heaven, not the pressure of the world. Finally, Lord, we thank you. Thank you for your patience with us. Thank you for speaking through silence. Thank you for not rushing what matters. And thank you for hiding us when you could have exposed us, because you love us too much to let us lead before we've learned to listen. We seal this prayer in surrender and in faith, believing that the quiet work you are doing will one day speak for itself. Let it be done in your time and for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray, Amen. If this prayer spoke to your spirit, I want you to take a moment and write these words in the comments. God, I trust you in the silence. Let that be your declaration today, a quiet yes, a whispered Amen. And if you've been walking through a hidden season, know this: you're not alone and you're not lost. You're being led. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next, because we're not just talking, we're building something eternal, one word at a time. Thank you for being here. Stay faithful, stay hidden, stay held. Heaven is not done with you yet.